it out and bring it to the front desk, and we will get you a gift because we want to connect with you. And if there's any children, which I don't see any today, so maybe Miss Millie's going to be in service, but if they are, they would be dismissed right now. Okay. All right, in honor of Proverbs 17, verse 22, a merry heart is good for the spirit, and wait, that's backwards. It's fine. That was the joke, actually. So God is talking to one of his angels, and he says, do you know what I have just done? I have just created 24 hours of alternating light and darkness on earth. Isn't that cool? And the angel says, yeah, God, but what will you do now? God says, I think I'll call it a day. Come on. Listen. Come to second and third service, I have a different joke. So if that didn't land well with you, you'll hear the other ones. So our scripture focus for this morning is 1 Corinthians 2, 9 through 10. However, as it is written, what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, and what no human mind has conceived, the things God has prepared for those who love him, these are the things God has revealed to us by his Spirit, and the Spirit searches all things, even the deep things of God. And so a recent study by scientists say we make around 35,000 decisions every single day. Come on, that's a lot of decisions. Like what shoes we're going to wear, if we're going to put them on the right foot, what food we're going to eat, health decisions. Are we going to click this or not click that? Are we going to pray? Are we going to look? Are we going to stop at that stoplight? Are we going to run it? Are we going to slow down? Are we going to speed up? Are we going to work? Are we going to play? Are we going to be serious? Are we going to be silly? What are we going to do with the rest of our lives? What time are we going to bed? What time are we getting up? Will we actually set our alarm? All these decisions. So naturally, as human beings, we want to feel a little in control, right? So we love to plan. We have many types of calendars, all kinds, and planners. Here's one of the very first calendars that we follow. There's a Gregorian calendar and a Roman calendar, and the Gregorian calendar is more like the calendar that we have now. And this is the calendar in my office right here. And you'll see, look, there's nothing on it. I just put it up, so that's why. But there's nothing on it. So we have all these ways of planning, don't we? We have monthly calendars, weekly calendars, daily, hourly, academic calendars, budgets, fitness, family, business, vacation, wedding planners, baby planners. But what about the unexpected things? I want to share a story with you this morning of some unexpected things. But first, who in here actually loves the unexpected? Yeah, that's what I thought. No one actually loves the unexpected. We have good unexpected and we have really bad unexpected. So a good unexpected would be like you come to church on Sunday and someone you haven't seen in a really long time is here and you're like, hey, good to see you, welcome back. That's a good unexpected, right? Or you find $50 in the park. This actually happened to me once. The Winn-Dixie parking lot on the ground, and so then you turn it in and then nobody claims it and they let you keep it. So that's a good unexpected. Or your husband makes you dinner, or your spouse. That's good. But then what about the bad unexpected? The things that just come out of nowhere and they take the wind out of you and you don't even see it coming. The bad unexpected, the relapse that you didn't expect to happen to yourself or to your friend, or the death in the family that you didn't expect, or you lost your job, or you didn't get the raise that you wanted, or your child moved out unexpectedly, the things that you didn't expect. So I have my own unexpected season that happened recently. First of all, I come from a family of plumbers, praise the Lord. So when our drain broke in our kitchen, I thought, I got this. I'm going to call my daddy on the phone. And so I found out that I actually had to climb on the roof to fix the drain. So I climb up on the roof, get up there, put the hose down there, the whole thing. And I thought, I'm fixing this drain. I called my dad. I'm taking selfies. Like, am I doing this correctly? And I thought I was. Get down, everything. I expected it to go well. Nothing, nada. Still no drain. So then the washer breaks, right? Because that's what happens, right? They're not even connected. The washer breaks next, right? It overflows, then the dryer stops drying randomly, and then I get that fixed, and then the washer breaks again, And then the van, oh my goodness, the tire blew out, and then the CV axle, the tie rod ends, the motor mounts, the upper ones, the brakes went out. And then we get all of that fixed, and guess what? I noticed that something bubbled up from the toilet in the bathroom, and I go outside and I'm standing in not good stuff, guys. I'm standing in septic, so even my plumber expertise couldn't even help me with that. Those are all things that I didn't expect, or that I couldn't plan for possibly. But our unexpected is never unexpected by God. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and he wants for us to walk in his unexpected blessings, his favor, his grace, his mercy, his joy, and his peace, his justice, and his wonder. So my one-sentence sermon this morning is, Jesus plans the unexpected, the things that we never saw coming. And we're going to start in 2 Kings 5, and we're going to start with Naaman. So Naaman was he was a commander in the Syrian army. He was a mighty man of valor. He is who the Lord allowed to win the battles of life. But guess what? Naaman had leprosy. So he was all of these things, and the Bible says it clearly. It says he was a mighty man of valor, but he had leprosy. That's how he's described. So those of you that don't know what leprosy is or not familiar, it's mentioned throughout the Bible so many times, and it's used as a parable for sin and also for disease. But leprosy would have been in Naaman's sake, right, in this situation, would have been little red spots to start out. And then eventually that would grow across his skin and become white, and the spots would do this thing called pussing up, it would get gross, and you'd be able to actually smell them coming. You'd be able to smell the lepers coming, so they would have to call out that they were unclean. A lot of times they'd have to live in separate cities or separate towns, and they would have to wear masks when they came around you. You did not want to be around a leper. So Naaman, being this mighty man of valor, this great warrior, in the war with Israel, he took captive a slave girl, and he brought her home, and she was loyal to him and his mistress. And she said to her mistress one day, she said, "If only my master could know the man of God in Israel, he could heal his disease." This is what this little slave girl thought about her master. So instead of being bitter, which she had every right to be, she was thinking of a way that her God could make this situation better. And so Naaman actually took heed to this advice, and he went to his king of Syria, and he said, "Could you send a letter to the king of Israel asking him if I could be healed of this disease?" So the master sent a letter, and the king of Israel received it, and he looked at it, and he got angry. It says, the Bible says he tore his robes. And he was like, what? He just really wanted to fight. He just really wanted, sometimes women and men, they just really want to fight. So he just really wanted to make the worst out of this situation. And so he tore his robe, and Elijah, a man of God, a prophet, he said, "Calm down." He said, "Chill out. I've got this. Send him my way. I will heal him. Our God will heal him." And so Naaman packed up gold, silver, 10 changes of clothes, worth, in our time, it would be about $3.5 million worth of treasures. Because when you need a healer, right? When you're in need of a healing, there is no amount of money that you won't spend, right? And there's no one that you won't take advice from. So even though the slave girl was a girl, she was young, and she was a slave, all those things disqualified her, but look at Naaman. He's saying, no, this is what I'm going to go do. I'm going to try this, and I'm going to take all my treasures, and I'm going to go there, and I'm going to receive my healing. So that leads us right here to 2 Kings 5, 9 through 12. So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and stood at the door of Elisha's house. And Elisha sent a messenger to him saying, "Go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be clean." But Naaman was angry. There's a lot of anger happening in this story today. And went away, saying, "Behold, I thought that he would surely come out to me and stand and call upon the name of the Lord his God and wave his hand over the place and cure this leper. Are not Abana and Pharpar, sorry about that, the rivers of Damascus better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be cleaned?" So he turned away, and he went away in a rage. So what is his problem, right? Like, he already took the first step to his healing. He already went to Israel. He already showed up at Elisha's door. He already brought all of his treasures for him. But because when he stepped there, it didn't look the way he expected, he went away in a rage because it wasn't according to his plans. He said, no, I'm done here. Are not Abana. So what he wanted is he wanted to be recognized as a man, to be treated like a great man that happened to be a leper. But Elisha treated him like a leper that just happened to be a great man. Because we're all alike in this, aren't we? That made him upset, but we're all alike in this, and that, like, when we've all sinned and we've all come short of the glory of God, and Jesus is our great physician, and in his idea of healing, his remedy, insists that he treats us all equally. We all get treated like the patient, not as the rich patient or the poor patient or the smart patient or the uneducated patient. We all get treated equally. But he didn't like that. He wanted the fanfare. He wanted a big show. If only Elijah would come out and wave the magic wand, Naaman would have been thrilled. That's what he wanted. And then he thought, why did I have to come here for this kind of humiliation? The Jordan River is muddy. So in his mind, the Abana and the Pharpar River, the rivers of Damascus, kind of look like this. So if you think of the Rainbow Springs area, I think I have a picture. That's what back home looked like to him, right? He was like, why couldn't I have just stayed there to give me some dignity and save my pride? And what's the point? I'm not doing this. But Elisha said, wash in the Jordan. The Jordan really looked more like this. Kind of like the Okeechobee, right? Like lots of mud, and it ain't something you probably want to go swimming in. You don't know, it just wasn't the best fanfare. He said, why did I have to be here, and why did I have to do it like this? This isn't what I expected. I expected the fanfare, and there's no glory in washing in the muddy Jordan, is there? This isn't what I expected. But how many times in our own life do we think that same way? God, I expected this, and you gave me that. I expected sweet, and you gave me sour. I expected a promotion and a raise, and you fired me. I expected rest, and you gave me chaos in this season. I expected happily ever after, and now me and my spouse are separating. I expected healing, and you gave me relapse. I didn't expect this, God, and I can't take this. This isn't according to my plan. This isn't on my calendar this year. Get on my calendar, God. Oh, but then we're being our own gods, aren't we? We're not putting him in his rightful place. So in 2 Kings 5, we see at 13 to 14, it's right there. Naaman's servants went to him. So he went back and they said to him, "My father, if the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more then when he tells you, wash and be cleansed?" So what Elisha was telling Naaman was super simple. It was, go in the Jordan, wash 7 times, and be cleansed. This is where who you surround yourself with in life is super important, because they're keeping him in reality. They're saying, even kind of bravely, because he's their master, if the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? Guys, who's in your circle this is an aside. Pro tip for the day is super important. How much more then when he tells you, wash and be cleansed? So Naaman went down, and he dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times, as the man of God had told him. And his flesh was restored, and he became clean as a young boy. But what if he had only dipped 5 times? What if on the 5th time he said, I'm done with this. This is ridiculous. I'm still not healed. This guy doesn't really know what he's talking about. This doesn't look the way I want. Where's my fanfare? Where's my cameras? Somebody should post this on Instagram. All of that. What if he had stopped at 5 times and walked away? What if he let his pride and his plans, how he saw it going, get in the way of what God was really trying to do here? You see, we can make our plans. And Naaman had his, but God. Everyone say, but God. But God had to and wanted to, because he's a God and that loves us. He wanted to clean and heal first on the inside of Naaman. He had to get rid of that pride. He had to get rid of that need to control. He had to get rid of that need to be in charge of his own life, because we're not in charge of our own life, are we? He's in charge of our lives. So we can put all the pretty calendars up we want and tie all the things into our iPads that we want and put all of the alerts on the watches that we want. And it doesn't matter, because God is in charge of the expected and the unexpected. And so when you love Jesus, you just get ready for the unexpected, because when you look at the gospel, the entire gospel, it was unexpected. The story of Jesus coming to earth as a baby, that was the Messiah coming as a child, that was unexpected. This is our life. This is the life that we've chose to walk with Jesus and the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It's unexpected. Now, to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work in us. So Naaman, he just wanted his outside healed. And a lot of times I think that that's what we want. We just want the surface problem fixed, right? Well, like our plan is just to get the new car, right? Our plan is just to get in the relationship, right? With that person that we really are into. Our plan is just to get the job. But God's plan is to fix what's in the inside of us, so that our relationship with him can be better, so that we can understand his presence and his mercy and his grace and his goodness every day. But if he just looked at our calendar and said, this is what Tracey is going to do today. She's going to go to work, and then she's going to pick up her kid, and then yes, check, check, check. And he didn't do anything to wreck my plans. Boy, I tell you what, I'd have a pretty boring life. I would have a pretty boring, unproductive life, and I would not even need him. But he knows that the way to pull us closer to him is to give us the unexpected. And we trust him. We pull closer to him. We walk with him through it. It's more than we could ever ask or imagine. So God, by his word, commands us to rise and walk in the way, of course, of his commandments. If we look back at 1 Corinthians 2:9, I want to look at that again. What no eye has seen and no ear has heard, and what no human mind has conceived, the things God has prepared for those who love him, even the deep things of God. So by his word, he commands us to rise and walk in the way of his commandments. And if we mix faith with his word, we lay our souls under the power of his word. Like what he says, we lay ourselves at his feet, and he will give his spirit to take us by the hand and lift us up. In 1982, some of you may know this story, actually. Jennifer Larcombe, does that ring a bell with anybody, that name? In 1982, she was a mother of 6. So her father was actually an evangelist. So that's how this story came across my screen. But she was a mother of 6, and she contracted encephalitis. And it was rough raising 6 children from a wheelchair. But with her husband by her side, she managed even the toughest years. And she continued to speak and share the gospel like she had done growing up. And it was an awesome life. But she remembers after speaking at an event in her wheelchair in 1990, so 8 years she'd been in a wheelchair bound. In 1990, she was miraculously healed by Jesus at the altar. Unexpectedly. 8 years into her disease, she was miraculously healed at the altar. And she remembers going home that night, and she was like carrying her wheelchair over her head, and her neighbors were talking about her, thinking like she had been faking it all this time. I mean, they'd seen her chasing her kids around for 8 years, but they thought she'd been faking it all this time. Or they thought that she had a twin, right? And when the media kind of got a hold of this, they started talking about her and just making all kinds of accusations like this could not have really happened because this is not what they expected. This is not how they expected a healing to happen. So the accusations began to fly, and they accused her of faking. They spoke of her having a twin and doing all this for publicity. And her own daughter, who's now a teenager at this time, and has saw her mom's healing, even asked her, if God could heal you, why didn't he do it sooner when we were younger and things were harder? Why didn't, that would have been a better plan. Don't you think? When you're chasing around little kids, it would have been a better plan to have full mobility to chase them down and clean the house and cook them supper and work and do all of that. But the day that Jennifer was healed at the altar, that wasn't the day she was actually healed. That was the day that we all saw her physical healing. She actually remembered the day of her healing. It actually happened. It wasn't in 1990. It was 6 years earlier. It was in 1984. And she said she was alone in her wheelchair, and she had slid by herself. She was on a farm and had slid into a pile of cow manure. And she said she couldn't get out, and she sat there, and she was so angry with God, finally telling him and crying out all the things that she'd kept inside for years. All of the hurt and the shame and the fear and the disappointment and the resentment, all her dashed expectations, it all came out right there for God while she sat in the pile of cow manure. She said in that moment, God didn't do what everyone would expect. In that moment that she cried out, he didn't change her outer circumstances. She was still in the pile of cow manure. She was still, disabled. She still had encephalitis. She was still in a wheelchair technically, but he had changed her inner heart, and he gave her this supernatural peace that she never expected to have. And she was able to carry that peace for 6 more years through the encephalitis until God healed her completely on the outside. And that was not what she or her family expected. But Jesus, he had planned her unexpected. He knew about the encephalitis. He knew that, she'd be inconvenienced. And he even knew she'd slide into a pile of cow manure and cry out to him. All to bring her closer to him. All to put her in his presence. All so she could get her heart right. All so that she could be a witness to her children and to people all over the world. And that proved true. Years later, her children right here, they grew up. And one of them, Justin, grew up and he became a very successful major in the British military. And so he had a lot of money, and he had a very good job in, finance. And he had a beautiful wife, and he had 2 kids, and their life was wonderful. And then he took a $5 bet online. And a $5 bet led to more and more and more. And if you see right here in the newspaper, this is where he ended up. There's Jennifer right there with her books, years later, rocking it on. It began with a $5 online bet. Then this ex-major gambled away $750,000. And his family, they left him. His wife left him. And his job, of course, when his money ran out, he thought he could just use the business credit card and they wouldn't notice. Well, of course they noticed. He lost his job. He lost everything. He had nothing. He said he was basically homeless at this point. He was homeless and he was broken. It wasn't what he expected his life to look like as a major. It wasn't what he expected his life to look like as a finance guy. But this is what God was doing inside of him. God took everything away from him, allowed everything to leave him. And he turned back to the Lord. Even with his wife gone and his kids gone, not knowing if he'd ever seen him again, God got him on that one-on-one. God got him alone. God got him in his presence and said, look at me. This wasn't your plan, but this is my plan. And here we are. We're in this mud. We're in this manure together. But I'm not leaving you, and I'm not forsaking you. And he turned to God in that moment, and he turned his entire life around. He gave it all to God. Now he has a recovery course online or in churches in Britain called recoverycourse.com, and he uses it to help other addicts get better. And he got his family back, and he got an even better job, all because what he expected his life to look like, it didn't turn out that way. When you take the $5 bet, you expect that maybe you'll win something, right? So you don't because you just don't. And then you think, oh, the next one I expect to win because I didn't win that one. So eventually I'm going to win, right? Eventually I'm going to make out right. But when you're walking in that kind of sin, God is just calling out to you saying, no, come here. This isn't what you expected, but I'm going to use this. I can use this right here. This is going to bring you closer to me. I'm going to get you in my presence. I'm going to change your heart. I might not change your finances right now, but on the inside, I'm going to change, and I'm going to use this for my glory. And that's what God did. And that's what God does. He doesn't just do it in my life, and he doesn't just do it in his life and in your life. He does it in everybody's life. He uses all of these messes, all of this cow manure, all this stuff, all our expectations that are dashed. He uses that for his glory. You guys, if you don't see it, it's worth waiting for. It's worth going through the cow manure to get what God has for you. It's worth throwing out your calendar. I mean, don't literally throw out your calendars. But it's worth throwing out your plans to take up his plans and just wait on him and wait on the Lord. It's worth it. It's so worth it. And so here's a picture of him with his book right here. Thank you, Cain. And so now I want to leave you with just two more thoughts. As the worship team comes and the prayer team comes, I want to leave you with two more stories. So I want to go to Acts 3. Please and thank you. I love this story. Oh my gosh. Seeing Peter and John about to go in the temple, a man asked to receive alms. So he saw Peter and John going to the temple. He was put at the gate, beautiful. He was put there every day. Every single day. And Peter directed his gaze at him, as did John, and said, "Look at us." So he was used to just having his head down and saying, "Alms for the poor, alms for the poor, alms for the poor." But Peter and John said, "Look at us." And he lifted his head up and he fixed his attention on them, expecting to receive something from them. But what he was expecting to receive from them was not what they were about to give him. What he was expecting to receive from them was money. What he was expecting to receive from them was a provision of some kind, or coat. He wasn't expecting what was about to happen. But God's plans were so much better here. But Peter said, "I have no silver and I have no gold, but what I do have, I give to you. In the name of Jesus, Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk." And he took him by the right hand, and he raised him up. And immediately his feet and ankles were made strong. And he could walk. And then if we go to the next slide, Cain, thank you so much. And leaping up, he stood and began to walk and entered the temple with them. And he was walking and leaping and praising God. And all the people saw him walking and praising God. And they recognized him as the one who had sat at the beautiful gate of the temple. So he started his day thinking that's where he's going to do. That's what he's going to do for his day. He's going to go, somebody's going to drop him off at the gate. He's going to sit there and he's going to beg, and that's going to be his day. And the people that saw him every day expected him to be there at the gate every day. They expected that's what but when they saw him, they were amazed. And they were filled with wonder and amazement at what had happened to him. And it was a witness to the glory of God, to what he can do when we change, we let go of our expectations and we pick up what God has for us. Because Jesus plans the unexpected, the things we never saw coming. I have something to tell you. I just found this out this morning. A few months ago, my friend Deborah Beckett, she's here somewhere, gave me this bottle. This is so crazy. This is how God knows. He knows the unexpected, I'm telling you. So this is so great. So she gave me this bottle one day on a Monday. She came in a few months ago, and I was working on sermon notes for something else, not this message. And I looked at it, and I said, this is vanilla, by the way. So those of you who don't know, this is vanilla bean, and I guess I just found out you make vanilla bean with vodka and vanilla. I had no idea. I have not even opened this in months. And so here it sits right here, and when I received the bottle, I wrote expectation on it, right? And I set it aside. And I wrote August 5th because that's the day that I'm supposed to open it. Because it's supposed to sit and cure for so long before it's good. And it made me think of if I open this before it's time, if I open it when I'm ready to use it, if I open it right now, it's not time. It's not fully the most powerful way that it can be. It's not going to taste its very best. If it's on my timeline, it's not going to be the best that it can be. But when it's on the Creator's timeline, when it's on the timeline of how it's supposed to happen, it's going to be 100% the best way it's supposed to be. And all my food's going to taste good. I mean, all of it is going to taste amazing. And I'm going to smell this. I just found out I could actually open it and smell it, but I haven't yet. That's for after here. But my point is, in all of this, God knew that this would be for today. I didn't know that. I didn't even know I was preaching this message. I had no clue, guys, if only you knew, okay? I had no clue, okay? This is God. When I take down my calendar and when I take down my expectations and I walk on God's timelines, He's going to do immeasurably more. Ephesians 3:20 says He's going to do immeasurably more than we could ask or imagine according to His power that's in work with us. So we don't have to worry about being the best. We don't have to worry about when our plans fail necessarily because our plans are not God's plans. Jesus expects our unexpected. He plans for our unexpected. So if you'll stand with me this morning and as the worship team plays, thank you for being here this morning. I know it's a Sunday in the summer and there's a million places that you could be. And maybe you had plans this morning to go somewhere else and you ended up here. That's not a coincidence. Jesus plans for our unexpected. You ended up here in this place. You ended up here with this message. You ended up here next to the person next to you. You ended up here with an opportunity to lay it all at Jesus' feet this morning. You don't have to carry it with you. You don't have to be ashamed of your plans that didn't work out the way that you wanted because His plans are better. He planned for your unexpected. He planned for your mess. He planned for your cow manure. He planned for your disease. Guess what? Here's the best part. He planned for your healing, and it's coming. And you can stand on that healing is coming because His plans for you are for good and not for evil. They are not to harm you. And if you trust Him and you walk with Him and you get in His presence, that's going to change everything for you. And you can throw your calendar away, and you can be done with feeling bad about not going the way you thought it was going to go because it's always going the way He thought it was going to go. He already knew it. So just take these last few minutes. Spend some time getting in God's presence. If you don't already feel Him in this room, spend some time trying to get there. Because nothing else that you came here for was important. If you came for the coffee, that wasn't as important. If you came for just to get out of the house, that wasn't as important. What's the most important plan of all is that you get in His presence this morning. So take this time and enjoy the presence of the Lord.